Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about what is the lesson for the 2022 Dungeon Master from the 2022 midterm elections. All right, so first of all, let's define our terms. 2022 midterm elections, that's the U.S. election that just happened, okay, in November, right? And then 2022 Dungeon Master. What is a 2022 Dungeon Master? That's a real Dungeon Master who actually DMs in 2022 and is using 2022 Dungeons and Dragons. What the heck is 2022 Dungeons and Dragons? Well, because editions are dead now, 2022 Dungeons and Dragons is the Dungeons and Dragons that embraces every era of Dungeons and Dragons and uses ideas and books from every single era. So I'm a 2022 Dungeon Master, and I use books. I use D&D canon hardbacks from the Gygaxian era, from the Lorrainian era, from the Dancian era, from the Heinsoonian era, and from our current Perkinian era, right? And there are distinct D&D canon hardbacks from each one of those eras. And a 2022 Dungeon Master uses books from all those eras, right? And is actively dungeon mastering today, right? Now, what's interesting is there are dungeon masters who you can attach to 2022, right? They're subjecting their players to here only Gygaxian D&D canon hardbacks are used, or we don't even use Dungeons and Dragons. We use books that are like Dungeons and Dragons. Pity those poor players who end up who end up just like El Terrell, right? Which is a city close to Baldur's Gate that fell into a special circle of hell. That's what those poor players are, being subjected to. My pity goes out to every one of you. Hang in there. I hope you're able to escape that special circle of hell you're in right now and get with a 2022 Dungeon Master soon. All right. So what is the lesson from the 2022 midterm election? Well, first of all, there's a few lessons. One, our government right now, it really needs to be overhauled, and virtually every single politician who's serving us is being shamefully lazy, and their behavior to us is repugnant as Americans. So first of all, it's like 2 days since the election, and we got no idea what's going on. We don't know who has the House. There's dozens of races that we have no answer for. This is ridiculous, right? I play Fortnite, right? And I'll tell you right now, a Fortnite drop is far more complicated than the American Electoral College. People put in their vote. It's binary. This person or that person. You should be able to count that in 2 hours, okay? And the fact that we still have systems that can't literally count tickets, just ballots in hours is absurd, right? I finished a Fortnite, and they're like, hey, you finished second, right? And this is the amount of people you killed. This is every bullet you shot, right? Like, here's a count of literally everything that came out of your weapons, right? And here's 100 metrics. Oh, and guess what? If you want to watch the entire replay, here it is immediately. Right? It's 100 times more complex than counting ballots, and America is failing us. The American every politician in America is doing nothing on these critical. You should be able to count ballots we should know every Senate, every gubernatorial, every single race should be reported by 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the day of the election. And until that happens, I will tell you right now, you could take these American politicians and can every one of them, because they are doing nothing. They are being lazy, and they are wasting my time and your time, okay? So first of all, that needs to get fixed. Here's the next one. This was shocking. I was shocked to see this. I'll tell you that right now. The red wave did not happen. I was expecting it to happen. Now, here's what I did for my ballot in Pennsylvania. I immediately voted for John Fetterman, and I was thrilled. If you had told me a year ago that I would be thrilled to vote for a stroke victim Democrat, I would be shocked, right? But I was thrilled to. And the reason why is, I'll tell you right now, I think Mehmet Oz was the worst liar I've ever seen in my life. He's like, hey, everybody, I'm a Pennsylvania Republican. You are neither a Pennsylvania, in my humble opinion, you are neither a Pennsylvanian nor a Republican. The fact that you, in my humble opinion, were lying about the first two things that you claimed to be meant that you had an agenda for Pennsylvania that I did not know what it was. And so when I think to myself what it was, I'm pretty sure it included something having to do with Baphomet. No, do not want. Thank you, next. And so I'm thrilled to have a stroke victim Democrat running this, as our senator, rather than whatever the heck Mehmet Oz wanted for my state. Thank goodness that was avoided, right? I voted straight Republican ticket on every other one, okay? And the reason why I did that was I desperately wanted to punish every single Democrat for thanks to Vladimir Putin's savagery and President Joe Biden's cowardice for not putting 700,000 boots on the ground in Moscow and taking Moscow and giving it to America and imprisoning Vladimir Putin for no other reason than what he has done to Brittany Griner, right? We have inflation. That's the reason we have inflation. That's 100% the reason we have inflation. A bunch of people squawking a bunch of other nonsense. It is Vladimir Putin declaring war on the world not answering, and first and foremost, President Joseph Biden displaying outrageous cowardice to not immediately end the war in Ukraine simply by taking Moscow and making it the 51st state in America and imprisoning Vladimir Putin just for what he did to Brittany Griner. We don't even need to touch Ukraine, right? The fact that he isn't imprisoned an American, I tell you right now, we should have 700,000 boots on the ground and put that fool in a prison like Vladimir Putin, and that'd be that, right? And America, for the first time ever, would own land in the middle of Russia, which would be really nice. I might buy a second home there. That'd be nice. That'd be sweet. I like it. And hopefully, when DeSantis is president in 2024, that's the first thing we'll do. All right, but here is the kicker: the red wave did not come, right? And what does that mean? That means the vast majority of Americans right now are not hurting. They did not want to punish the Democrats the way I wanted to punish the Democrat, and they didn't. And they said, you know what? This inflation storm that we have in America, I'm just fine with it. I'm not hurting. And that tells me the Garabays are one of the few families who are hurting in America. And because, I've been hustling, trying to, get a second stream of income coming in. I'm incredibly blessed with my first job, but the reality is we have, with this inflation storm, which came from Vladimir Putin and President Joseph Biden's cowardice to stop Vladimir Putin, we've been burning savings, and it's been terrible and it's been painful. And what I just learned, because no red wave arrived, is that's not the case for other Americans. So they're not feeling the pinch on this, right? So this is just a Scott Garibay thing, and our family's hurting, and the vast majority of you out there are not, right? So one, I'm incredibly glad to hear that. I don't want my suffering to be your suffering. So suffering right now in America apparently is just hitting the Garibay family, and one or two of my commenters have said that they've been feeling the pinch too. But apparently everybody else is fine with it. So there you go. So what does that mean for your Dungeons & Dragons table? Well, that means that you can roll hard against them and put them in the dirt. You can put their player characters in the dirt, right? Because the reality is, I feel like when we see that the country is raw and that there are real world problems that people are struggling with, we need to be more tender with their player characters. Like putting their player characters in the dirt with a green dragon coming down and chopping them in half, throwing half their corpse this way and half their corpse that way, and then going after the other player characters. You don't want to do that when people are really hurting. But the red wave did not arrive. Americans are not really hurting. They're like, oh, hey, I see what's happening right now. I'd like more of that. Thank you, right? So what this means, what the 2022 midterm means for your Dungeons & Dragons table is go at them. Tear your player characters apart, man. Like you could put a West March theme on your game, man. Just grind them like meat. Done and done. All right, so I'm shocked. I'm shocked for a 2022 Dungeon Master to be getting this lesson. All that's my humble opinion. What's your takeaway? What should the 2022 Dungeon Masters take from what are the lessons they should take away from the 2022 midterm elections? That's my humble opinion, and I am very eager to hear your humble opinion. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.